I would pay if I'm the Wild. I'd pay Kirill Kaprizov $18 million.
No, that's crazy.
That's
crazy. I don't think that Kirill Kaprizov. He's an unbelievable player, like one of the best players in the league. I don't think he's a blank check player.
Okay, Minnesota Wild, big trouble. They've got a great player and are just throwing money at him. Are on the record of saying we will give the guy a blank check, and he's not signing for $16 million a year. That news came in during our show last week, and we were like, dude, what are you doing? What are you possibly doing? And now there's been more reporting on it that he's a little embarrassed that his teammates found out about it. Elliot Friedman, I think, brought up a good point, which is like maybe he's just waiting because they said they're going to give him a blank check. So if they're starting with $16 million a year, yeah, that's a very, very serious offer. But he's probably like, you'll give me 18. You'll give me 19, something like that. What do you make of the Wild situation right now?
I make of it that like this is a cause for concern for sure if you're Minnesota. Number one, like the starting point being, I don't think I would pay Kirill Kaprizov $16 million a year for 8 years.
I would. If I'm the Wild, definitely.
But that's the thing, like the Wild shouldn't have to think like that. And I'll say this, I don't want Kirill Kaprizov to go anywhere. I want him to stay with the Wild because we've been asking for so long for the Wild to have superstars, like really like franchise defining generational players. Kirill Kaprizov can absolutely be that. And they are looking like they're about to turn the corner, and Kirill Kaprizov should be at the center of it. I want him to stay there. My problem is I don't think I would pay him $16 million a year because I think that's above what like his value should be right now.
I don't know. I think that a projection is involved in it, and that's the cap going up. And Elliot said this on 32 Thoughts, like you have to not think of it in terms of if player A's contract is such, player B's contract should be such. Like 1 year after Leon Draisaitl begins a $14 million a year contract, should Kirill Kaprizov in a just world be making $2 million more than that? No, but I always go to this, like, do you want the player or not? And
yeah, of course, but like
I would pay if I'm the Wild, I'd pay Kirill Kaprizov $18 million.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't think that Kirill Kaprizov, he's an unbelievable player, like one of the best players in the league. I don't think he's a blank check player. I think there's maybe like one or two blank check players in the league.
Isn't he in a blank check situation? I think there's like I'm in agreement with. I think there's like 4 blank check players, and I think that Kaprizov isn't one of them. But Kirill Kaprizov to the Minnesota Wild is a blank check player.
I don't think he is. Like he's not the only guy there. Like obviously he is the centerpiece of what they're doing there, but they have these like next tier players who can help elevate this team. And like, would I let Kirill Kaprizov walk for nothing? Absolutely not. But that brings me to my next point. It's like you're kind of in panic mode for the Wild right now because you have to make a decision. And I think you have to make a decision. I don't know how soon, but you don't bring it to next offseason. That is for sure. And I do think that a trade should definitely be on the table for Kaprizov. And that's why I think the Wild have to set a ceiling. Like he should not be a blank check player. He should not be given whatever he wants. There should be a cap on what they're willing to pay him. And if he goes over that, trade him and get pieces back. Because I think your return for Kirill Kaprizov could set you up kind of nicely too.
Okay, if you think you're going to get jerked around on this thing and that he's not taking your very serious overtures seriously himself, definitely take calls on him. Definitely see what's out there. Bookies.com put out odds for Kaprizov's next team, leading with, of course, I love that we've gotten to a place where when this comes out, we say, of course, the Carolina Hurricanes, number 1. They're in on absolutely everybody. They make things happen. Think of the additions they made this offseason. Think of the addition they made last year with the Mikko Rantanen situation. Think of them flipping him. Think of the guys they didn't even get this offseason. They were in on Evan Bouchard and didn't make it happen, but they still get K'Andre Miller. They still get Nikolai Ehlers. Such an active team, so they're number 1, followed by the Detroit Red Wings, who I don't know if Kirill Kaprizov was part of the Yzer plan, but you can sneak him in there at the last second. The Chicago Blackhawks, They're the first team I think of. They're the one that comes to mind the most, and then I'll just run down the rest of it.
Before we move on for that, I believe that they're the only team on this list that Kirill Kaprizov has like lightly suggested that he would like to play
that
for.
There could be a connection to. Let me finish off the list. For his current team, the Minnesota Wild,
That
which
doesn't
is
make sense.
confusing.
That's not his next
Does
team.
that mean to begin the 2026-27 season?
I guess it's probably next contract, like the start of the next contract.
Okay, bookies.com. We appreciate the numbers. We're not smart people. Do better with words. New York Rangers at plus 750 because you have to put the Rangers on any list. The Flyers, the Bruins, the Penguins, and Pete's favorite team, if you look at some of the hats he wears, the Field, the NHL. Maybe he just goes out and represents the world.
I do respect the Shield, that's for sure.
That's your guy. Okay. What do you like on that list? I mean, I talked about the Hurricanes and how, of course, they'll be on everybody because that beautiful Danny Elfman looking guy they got running the team will make anything happen if he can, or he'll take any swing. But the Blackhawks, I think, are the obvious one.
Every team on that list makes sense to me except for the Boston Bruins.
Yeah,
the Boston Bruins. I don't see the Bruins handing out that contract to Kirill Kaprizov for several reasons. But every team other than that makes sense to me. And yeah, like the Blackhawks have been linked to him. The Hurricanes one is very, very interesting to me because you think that they're in on everybody, and they basically are. So you got to include them there. But also this week, Michael Russo, who's very, very connected to the Minnesota Wild, did talk about the possibility of Kaprizov going to Carolina. And he said that he believes Carolina has legitimate interest. I forget what the wording was, but he basically said, quote, extremely motivated to land Kaprizov, and that any package involving him would start with Svechnikov. If Kaprizov goes to Carolina, are they officially the new Vegas Golden Knights?
No, because respectfully, the Carolina Hurricanes, I feel have to work a little harder for it. They break their backs to get these guys, whether the guys want to be there or not. I feel that the hockey world and the hockey gods kind of funnel everything somehow to Vegas, where you just kind of end up there. And the Hurricanes, I think, have to put in a lot more work to make it happen. I would have questions about, we've talked about how the center wing thing doesn't matter as much anymore these days, but at some point, if you're the Hurricanes, don't you want some of those big splashes to be
down the middle,
bona fide down the middle guys?
Well, that's part of the reason why the Bruins still make sense to me is how much money are you going to tie up in wingers?
Eric Ripperson says the Bruins would never do something that exciting. Wrong. They do trades involving star players all the time.
They're just usually going the other way.
They're just usually going the other way. Blackhawks, I threw this out to you guys. I know that Connor Bedard wouldn't be part of it, but the Blackhawks to me are kind of timelineless, where I think that Kaprizov is obviously better than Connor Bedard. That in some world, if I were another team that had a Connor Bedard, I'd be if I can get Kirill Kaprizov, I'll give this guy up. But trading somebody that good and that promising when you have really it feels like the Blackhawks timeline still hasn't even begun. I feel that's kind of pointless.
Yeah, I think trading Bedard doesn't. The Blackhawks can't entertain that right now because you can't sell quote unquote low on Bedard, and you can't risk him becoming the guy everybody thought he was going to be. And Kaprizov does not fit in with the Blackhawks timeline, or lack of timeline, as you put it. The Blackhawks have a lot of young guys right now that they are really, really banking on becoming the centerpieces of their team. It doesn't make sense to trade Bedard to kind of expedite that timeline in my mind. I also think that I'll ask you this. Do you think that Kaprizov, you're willing to pay him $18 million a year, but are you sure that he is the one? You want him to be a one on your team? The leader on your team, the guy.
I don't know about leader because I don't know him personally, But if I'm the Minnesota Wild, yes. And wherever he goes, I think they'll already have somebody who they can say, this is sort of our straw that stirs the drink, whether it's a number one center or whether it's whomever. If with the Wild, like, it's his team. If he goes to the Blackhawks, you'd hope that it's Bedard's team and that he's a very, very expensive 1A and that you don't put too much pressure on him. I don't know. I just think so much that his value is much greater with the Wild than with anybody else. And I wonder if that's why it's taken so long. Because he knows, like, you guys need me so badly. And if you decide that it's a bridge too far, go ahead, send me someplace I like, and no hard feelings.
It does seem very Minnesota sportsy, or Minnesota Wild in particular, that they would find like the guy, be ready to turn the corner, and then all of a sudden he doesn't want to be there, or he's just like playing too hard of hardball, and they have to go in a different direction.
Shout out Rudy Gobert.
A thing I'll say on the on the $18 million a year thing with the Wild, and that I would pay him that. My track record, and anyone's track record, typically who has said, just give this guy the big contract in the last couple of years, it's kind of a cheat code, because in hindsight, should have just given that guy the contract. The biggest one, obviously, is Rantanen. When he wanted 12, he wanted 13, he wanted like whatever, and you're just like, Avalanche, just pay him that money. Think of the Avalanche now where they would be if they had just given Mikko Rantanen $12 million a year.
But the reason that they didn't do it was because they want to pay the next guy. They want to make sure that they're paying Cale Makar.
But
which
with
I think
him only costing $12 million a year, and they didn't know the cap was going up, they could make all three of those happen.
Yeah, I mean, like the Panthers have kind of proven that. Like, if you want to make it work, you can. Even though the Panthers are a different situation.
I don't count the Panthers because a lot of those guys have way lower cap hits than you'd think.
I don't really blame the Avalanche. Like, in hindsight, it's easy to say in hindsight they should have given him that contract, which like they probably should have. But like the way that it played out, I don't really blame them for prioritizing Makar over Rantanen if they felt like they could only keep one of them.
We all silly like the mayor.